Insurance companies save billions of dollars every year by using a system they know so well to take advantage of injury victims. Whether it's a car accident, a slip and fall, a products liability case, a construction accident, or any other type of negligence case, it's just a numbers game to them. I know this because I used to be a former insurance defense attorney and I know the games they play. It's like walking into a casino where the house always has the advantage. That's why it's so important for injury victims to know their rights and to hire an attorney that knows what they are doing. If you want to know how to fight back and hit them hard, watch this video and I'll show you how. There are 3 factors that go into the evaluation of every injury claim: liability, damages or injuries, and the amount of insurance coverage. The first thing insurance companies look at is the insurance coverage, because that in essence is their exposure. If the insurance company is small, like $25,000 or even $100,000, they will fight you tooth and nail because they know that is the maximum that you are going to get from them. If it's a big policy, they will still fight you hard because they don't want to pay the money. Let me tell you about a case where we turned an initial settlement offer of $35,000 into a settlement of $1,150,000 in just under 2 years. Our client was a 32-year-old female who was sideswiped by another vehicle and sustained significant injuries, including a wrist fracture, herniated disc in her neck, herniated disc in her back. A car was totaled, and she ended up having a cervical fusion. On June 22nd, 2023, the insurance company made an initial offer of $35,000. The adverse vehicle had insurance coverage of $250,000 with a $1 million excess policy. At the time of the offer, she did not have the cervical fusion yet, but the doctor indicated she needed it, but she did not have the money to pay for it. So we sent a letter to the insurance company rejecting their offer and detailing the 7 elements of bad faith as to why they should pay the policy limits, including the probability of getting a verdict in excess of the policy was greater than not. We also requested they communicate our offer to settle the case within their insurance policy limits to their insured and to provide us the name with their insured's personal attorney so we can communicate with them directly and see if they wanted to make a personal contribution towards the settlement. The letter was ignored and we filed a summons and complaint and we started a lawsuit. The client's pain became so unbearable, we helped her find funding so she can pay for the surgery herself. The problem with lawsuit funding is the interest rate is rather high and it can get expensive rather quickly. However, our client had no choice and we made the cost of the surgery and the funding part of the claim as well. The insurance company knows this and they use it to their advantage because they know the longer the case goes, the more the expenses on the case are going to accumulate. The insurance company knows this as well and they use this to their advantage to try and squeeze the plaintiffs into taking less money than they should. And because as the litigation continues, the expenses get higher because we have to hire experts. And in a case where the plaintiff took out funding to fund her surgery, the interest rate accumulates. So the lawsuit progressed. The plaintiff was deposed. They had an opportunity to examine the plaintiff, and we took the deposition of the defendant driver. And the first question he was asked was, did your insurance company tell you that we sent them a letter 2 years ago offering to settle the case within your insurance policy limits? And his answer was no. Even after that, the insurance company continued to nickel and dime us. They refused to go over $1 million for the longest time. Finally, we put the case on the trial calendar. We sent them a final bad faith letter, and we offered to give them a discount in order to settle the case now rather than 2 years when we go to trial. And basically the letter said we would settle the case today for $1,150,000. We give you 30 days to accept. If you don't, we're going to trial. We're not going to settle the case within your insurance policy limits, and we will pursue a bad faith action, which we have done before, and we will go after you. Well, the letter must have worked because I got a phone call within a couple of days offering to settle the case for the $1,150,000. Now, we were able to do this because we had the documentation to support our case. We had photographs of the damage to the plaintiff's vehicle. Plaintiff received medical treatment contemporaneously with the accident. We're able to show documentation of a continuous course of treatment where the plaintiff made consistent complaints to her wrist, her neck, her back, which all were helpful in proving the case, which was significant in refuting any claims the insurance company would have, saying the injuries were not related. Especially when our client is 32 years old, the argument that the injuries were not related or they were degenerative or they were pre-existing would not fly in a case like this. We had a significant impact, we had significant property damage, we had contemporaneous treatment, and we had a decent amount of insurance coverage, which all came into play in order to get this case resolved in under 3 years from the accident date. But they tried everything they could to lowball us and to not pay adequate compensation to my client. But we know how to litigate, and we pushed back, and we fought back, and we kept fighting, and we did not let up until the insurance company paid us what our demand was. Other disgusting tactics that the insurance companies use to take advantage of injury victims are they won't pay, especially if their policies are very large, because if there is a verdict that comes in that's way too large, they will appeal it, which will delay the client's ability to receive compensation even further. And in New York, the court systems are slow. An appeal could take another 2 years. A trial, once you're on the trial calendar, could take 1.5 years to 2 years in order to get to a jury. The insurance companies know that, and they try to take advantage of people who don't have attorneys who are really skilled to fight back and what they need to do in order to get the insurance companies to pay up. But the injury victim's attorney also needs to know how to properly evaluate their case and what goes into evaluating a case. Like I said, liability. So in this case, we had good liability. It was a sideswipe. The client's car was totaled. The insurance company really wasn't contesting liability, although they were using it a little bit. But liability, damages, that is the most difficult component to evaluate because you're looking at past pain and suffering and future pain and suffering. Past medical expenses, past lost wages, future medical expenses, future lost wages. So in the case of a 32-year-old woman, her life expectancy is approximately 80 years. So we're looking at a potential recovery over the next 50 years of her life. So it's important to know what the future medical expenses are going to be, because if somebody has a spinal fusion, they're just not getting better. They need to go for further treatment over the course of their years, further MRIs, may need further medication as they get older. Their work life expectancy may decrease. So we need to get the documentation in order to determine what these amounts are. And over the course of 50 years, that can get rather costly. However, if the client is better and they come to a point where they say, you know what, surgery has helped me. I haven't gone to receive any medical treatment in a while, and I don't plan on ever going back to a doctor because I'm done. That's going to limit the recovery. Not every case is $1 million case. And if there's $10 million in insurance coverage or more, maybe the insurance coverage is unlimited, and your attorney does not accurately evaluate and assess your case, you're going to be litigating for years. And I always say there is a point of diminishing returns, because the longer your case goes on without you receiving any medical treatment, your case has plateaued, your case expenses are going to increase, and your recovery is going to get less and less the longer the case goes. And many attorneys I know will just demand the policy or a really unrealistic amount. They will litigate their case, and they're doing a disservice to their client, because by the time the case comes up for trial, the case has lost a lot of its luster and a lot of its value. As I've mentioned to you earlier, I know this firsthand because I used to be on the other side. I used to do work for the insurance companies, and I see how they try to take advantage of the injury victims, see how they take advantage of attorneys who are not equipped to litigate and don't have the money to fund the litigation. So over the past 30 years, I have done it from the insurance company's perspective. I have done it from representing injury victims. If you or a loved one have been injured through the negligence of others, ring Rizzuto at 855-RIZZUTO, RIZZUTO. We can help. Subscribe and follow for more, and I'll see you there.